Alright guys, Diablo 4 players aren't happy right now. I want to break down what's going on and give some constructive criticism back to Blizzard to help fix the current issues in the game. Gamers are in nothing short of a full-on revolt over one note that has appeared in 6 of the last 9 patch notes. That line, made adjustments to elite spawn rates in dungeons. There are numerous Reddit threads trending on this topic, and several news orgs have picked up the story. Honestly though, these changes aren't anything that really surprised me. Prior to the game launch, there was a lot of talk about all the possible in-game activities that Diablo would have. I said then, and I maintain today, that gamers will find the path of least resistance when grinding. So I find it no surprise that now the game's live, everyone is finding the fastest way to level, and they're only doing that. I'm not gonna lie, I was surprised at the activity that was chosen for people to level with. So the current meta is to level up running normal mode dungeons, either solo or with a team, and just farm these dungeons. The reason everyone is farming these dungeons is mainly due to the high mob and elite density. This has proven to be the fastest way to get gear and level up. So obviously, the community has seized on it. To combat this, the Blizzard team has taken to swinging the nerf hammer seemingly every other day, jumping from one dungeon to another and adjusting the elite spawn rates every time. It seems that Blizzard wants to slow down the progression of the player and keep it in line with what's intended. This is further backed up by the fact that the team has taken to nerfing outliers and not buffing underperformers. Because while we, the players, feel like they're underperforming, it seems that Blizzard intends for the progress to be that slow. The crux of the issue isn't that the game itself lacks fun. Quite the opposite. The game is actually very fun to play, and people want to level up and continue to progress. The real issue is that none of the current in-game activities feel particularly fun, engaging, or rewarding. Because of that, people are flocking to the easiest activity. Nightmare dungeons are not inherently any more fun to run than a regular dungeon. The sigil system seemed to be interesting prior to launch, but quickly became monotonous. Seemingly the only reason anyone even considers running Nightmare dungeons is to upgrade their sigils. Now, I had assumed it would be more of a World of Warcraft key system prior to launch, where you would get a key and your performance while completing that key would dictate the key's level after the completion. This isn't the case though. You actually find and make keys as often as you like, and there's no real issue to not completing your key. You can just make a new one. Another reason WoW keys held meaning was due to the increased eye level gear that you could get in higher keys. D4 has not embraced any of that. Sure, you can get sacred and ancestral gear in higher tiers of keys, but you can get the same gear from just farming other, easier activities. So why do a more challenging activity for the exact same rewards? Unfortunately, higher tier keys don't seem to increase mob density in any considerable way, and the XP increase you get seems to be diminished by the extra time it takes to even complete the dungeon. Long story short, it's just all around better to do normal dungeons with easier clear conditions super fast versus doing nightmare dungeons with longer completion mechanics for the same or even lower rewards. Tree of Whispers is an interesting concept, but falls short on a lot of its execution. This could be fixed by lowering the requirements to obtain a cache to 7 favors or something. Maybe. I'm not for sure. The rewards for doing Tree of Whispers themselves are not necessarily terrible, but to get them, you have to do more menial tasks. There's honestly nothing unique or fun to the mechanic of Tree of Whispers. Earning favors consists of doing things that you would have already done, if you felt like it. There are several kill missions where you just collect items after killing monsters, or you can clear cellars, or you can clear dungeons. When you go to clear the overworld monsters, packs are few and far between, and when you add to that the slow cooldown of your horse, it becomes more of a hunt and demolish the pack mechanic. Clearing cellars is also not very interesting, as you jump in the cellar and have to manage one pack or one small event, and then it's over. The amount of downtime in both of these events is huge compared to the amount of time you're spent in action. That balance makes it feel less fun and engaging. I don't feel we need to go over the dungeons again. All the same issues that apply with the Nightmare dungeons apply to the Tree of Whisper dungeons, except that Nightmare dungeons give you your bonus every round, and Tree of Whispers you need to do 2 to get your rewards. Helltides suffer from the same issues that the overworld Tree of Whisper items suffer from, which is long cooldown on your mounts mixed with poor density. Most of the time in Helltides, you are running around hunting fiend roses while also hunting for packs of mobs to kill. I'd honestly expected this activity to be fairly dense and packed with combat, and it's not. The mix of combat versus downtime needs to be closer to an 80-20 split, instead of the 50-50 that it's currently at best. On top of this, there's still a major exploit that exists. You can farm shards on World Tier 3 and then switch to World Tier 4 and still have all of your shards, completely circumventing the need to even do the event on World Tier 4. Once you're on World Tier 4, you don't even really look for random chests anymore. You only want the mysterious chest, as it has the best chance of giving you multiple legendaries. Because of this, it becomes a prolonged game of find the one chest that's worth your time. I'm not going to get too deep into this, just know it's mostly one-shots dominated by in-game players preying on lower players. Everyone knew this would happen, so there's no real reason to talk about it. It seems the damage scaling just isn't working correctly, or everyone is supposed to one-shot each other. I'm not entirely for sure. The XP gains and gear here are realistically just a dice roll at best. Unless you're just looking for fun, it's best to avoid this system entirely and treat it as dead content right now. This isn't just a video telling Blizzard everything they've done wrong. We want to offer constructive criticism and help build the game up. I feel like Blizzard tried to make everything viable, and that was honestly the biggest mistake. Instead of trying to make everything viable in the end game, we need to make everything have a purpose in the end game. The overworld should be a great place to go when you first spawn in and gear up. After that, you need to buckle down and focus on the in-game mechanics in your current world tier. Honestly, I think part of why everything feels so bad is a product of both level scaling and XP scaling. Level scaling makes even World Tier 1 viable as a level 100 player. You need to turn this off. Split the world into 4 different maximum levels and cap the gear to match with those levels. World Tier 1 should go up to level 25. World Tier 2 should go up to level 50. World Tier 3 should go up to level 75, and World Tier 4 should go up to level 100. No gear or monsters outside of those levels should exist in their world tiers. This would honestly make it a complete waste of time for a level 100 to be in World Tier 1, as there would be no gear that would drop for them, and the XP would be absolutely terrible. Even going to World Tier 3 as a level 100 wouldn't be worth it. The XP would not be worth it, and there would be no ancestral gear. This would force players out of these zones due to the fact that there's just literally nothing there worth their time. Make Nightmare Dungeons worth players' time by increasing the XP gains for completing the dungeons and make them the main source of XP for players. Right now, outside of leveling sigils, there's no reason to do them. I also suggest removing the XP scaling. That way you are rewarded for punching above your belt if you choose to. Another suggestion is to make drops in the overworld the minimum item power you can get in that world tier, and make Nightmare Dungeons drop some of the highest. Also try to keep gear tied to key levels. So if you're at level 45 but you run a plus 10 key and it's World Tier 3 monsters, you are eligible for World Tier 3 drops while you're in that activity, even if you're not on World Tier 3. This would also make them a little bit more worth running. The Tree of Whispers needs to be your primary source for getting material drops and gold in the end game. If I'm farming medial tasks over and over again, I should get tons of rewards. Flood me with crafting materials and gold so I can make whatever potions I want and upgrade my gear. Give me a reason to want to redo this medial content. I honestly feel like gold and crafting materials should be the main draw from doing Tree of Whispers. Alright, honestly, Helltide Rifts need to have their density checked out for sure. We need more mobs and to feel like we are under a constant assault. There also needs to be a set specific level. So when I first enter a world tier, I should feel weak and scared to go into a Helltide Rift. And by the time I'm at the zone's max level, I should be decimating everything I walk by. Now this actually works in twofold. In the beginning of a world tier, any gear is going to be an upgrade. So killing slow isn't that bad. But by the time I am at the end of my leveling in that world tier, I need dozens or hundreds of gear drops to find a single upgrade. So the thought here is to let me kill at a pace that matches my need. Also, really get rid of the mystery chest, as it spoils the need to realistically use any other chests, and lower the cost of other chests or increase the shard drop rate. Remind people that Helltides are not realistically the place to go to level up, but they're going to be the best place to farm legendary gear. I'm not really going to spend a lot of time talking about PvP, as we could make an entire video. All we can say is that right now PvP is pretty much dead content and needs some severe help. I feel like if you made these changes, you could make each activity feel good and fix a lot of the issues. Use Nightmare Dungeons to level. Use the World Tree to gather materials and gold. Use Helltide Rifts to farm gear. Use PvP for fun? I'm not entirely opposed to nerfing the normal mode instances of the dungeons, but this needs to be done in tandem with buffing the alternative ways to play the game, because without that, it feels like you're just punishing players. But ultimately, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you agree with my take on this, or do you have different solutions to fix the current issues with Diablo 4? Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more Diablo 4 content, consider checking out our backlog of Diablo 4 videos. And as always, have a great day.